Today we're going to do a video illustration of a remedy report. And as I said, we're going to be doing the ear candling. I don't recommend you doing this if you have ear tubes. I've done it with my boys one time when they had ear tubes, and it gave them some irritation. It wasn't bad. It didn't like kill them or anything. They're still walking around, but it bothered them for a little while. One of them had tubes in his ears. Okay, but you need a little bit of water. You need an ear candle. You can get these from GNC and other natural food types places, like what's her name's, Peachtree Natural Foods, Dr. McBaron stores. Paper plate, some sealsels, and a lighter. Okay, cut a little pierce hole in there, and take the candle and you light it on fire. Fire.
Oh, I bet you I know how it does it. Heat draws it out, don't it?
Heat and a reverse vacuum. And you take it and you stick it in your ear. And you let it sit there.
Because heat rises and it pulls it out.
Right, it draws the tube, the wrapped gauze is a tube. And so it's right now working to draw wax and yeast and all sorts of stuff. You can hear the popping? I can really hear it popping because it's stuck in my ear. And of course, you know, if you ever want to just stop, because time-wise, you can cut the flame all the way off. You know. But it's getting pretty low. We're getting close. Probably pushing it a little bit. What the heck. Alright, that's probably low enough to keep me from burning my hair. So, I'm ready to go all the way, so I take this and cut the whole thing off. Let go, let go, let go. Set off the fire alarm.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Alright, I need some, ooh, I'm glad I stopped. It was about clogged. I need somebody to be ready to zoom in, I guess, but I'll zoom in. There's some yeast that fell out. I don't know if you can see that. You can come up here and look at it if you want to. Find you a good edge and start unraveling. And there's the first big ball of wax. And yeast.
All of that was in your ears?
All that was in my ears.
You clean your ears a little bit more.
Oh, I clean them all the time. That's the wild part. I clean them religiously, but with a Q-tip.
And
yeah.
This is the Q-tip can't get.
Yeah. Pretty disgusting, huh?
I bet you could hear better, huh? It's not.
No popping in my jaw.
Oh, mine does that too.
All right, so this is the close-up of, look at all the lovely stuff that came out of my ear. Isn't that disgusting? Or does it make you hungry? Okay. I'm hungry. All right, and that's ear candling. There you go. That's Mr. Fender's remedy report. Old-timey ear candles. So any questions? Other than you ask where we got it from. What's going on with the shaman and witch doctor and voodoo and all that kind of stuff. But could you sort of see in the movie where I was talking about what they were doing? That guy was hired by a pharmaceutical company to go find out whatever these people had that were bringing people back to life. Well, what he found out was that they were not bringing people back to life. They were using drugs to make them appear dead. So that later on, the witch doctor could control the people in the tribe with fear and other things, saying, look, I brought this person back from the dead. And they actually looked like zombies because of the flaking of the skin. They moaned and groaned and were pale and hardly had a heartbeat, and gave all the appearance of being the walking dead. There's a little pun for the TV show, Walking Dead. I've never watched a full episode of that show either.
Neither, I don't watch it.
But again, what they were doing was taking some of the curare or whatever and putting it on that lipid bilayer transport mechanism stuff that I was telling you about. Then they were putting it on the window seal on the doorknob, and as soon as the person touched it, they had it. Or, like you saw in the video, they could come up, they could be wearing rubber gloves or something that resembled rubber gloves and blow it in your face, or take beeswax like you see there. When they didn't have rubber gloves back in the day, they would coat their hand with the beeswax to protect them and put it in there and then blow it in your face, or either just open the bag in their hand and blow it in your face, and they would administer the drug. Then they'd slowly bring you out of it after they dug you up out of the ground, get it to where you could be mobile. Using these old witch doctor type of medications that we now use curare for heart patients, but we reduce the dosage down so low. We can also use it for other types of anesthesia and things. And it's medications that we have discovered being used by ancient man. That's ancient man still going on, right in our next door neighbors. You'll see the video, and this stuff went on while you're watching TV. There are people that still have no TV. And remember the story? I told you the story about the light switch, didn't I?
Well, where you put it in the...
Stuck it in the mud?
Yeah.
It didn't work. And it didn't work. That's going on. And we'll pick up from there tomorrow. All right, so Moses and Shaman. I watched Noah this weekend. I thought it was good. I was entertained by it. I was entertained by it. So let's look at, now we're getting up into the Greco-Roman and hitting the high points for that. The person in there that I want to focus attention on is Hippocrates. Hippocrates is given a lot of credit for being one of the early Greco-Roman educators in the art of medicine. Matter of fact, his notes, now pay attention, he did not write the Hippocratic Oath. His notes, though, were used to create it. And the Hippocratic Oath is an oath that every doctor takes when they have finished their medical boards and are about to become doctors. And here's how it goes. It says, "You do solemnly swear, each by whatever he or she holds most sacred, that you will be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members." That means other members of the medical profession, you're supposed to treat them with extra care also. Have you ever seen a doctor sitting in a waiting room? You won't. They're shuffling them in through the back door. They go straight in. Okay? You call in advance and they get you right on in if you're part of the healthcare community. "That you will lead your lives and practice your art in uprightness and honor, that into whatsoever house you shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick to the utmost of your power. You're holding yourself far aloof from wrong, from corruption, and from tempting others to vice." Sad to say, there's still a lot of people that do this. There's even bad people in the healthcare profession, and you as a consumer need to watch out for that, because there are corrupt doctors, but they're not supposed to be according to the oath that they took. Giving medications when they shouldn't. Prescribing stuff without seeing a patient, or leading a patient down the wrong path for stuff. Some of it's merely accidental. Some of it is pure, just bad. They're doing it evilly. "That you will exercise your art solely for the cure of your patients, and will give no drug," there we go, "perform no operation for criminal purpose, even if solicited, far less even suggest it." So if you're asked or pushed to do it, that's one thing, but you shouldn't even be one that's out there suggesting that sort of thing at all. "That whatsoever you shall see or hear of the lives of men and women which is not fitting to be spoken, you will keep inviolably secret. There is, in the Hippocratic Oath, the first confidentiality statement about keeping medical records confidential. Okay? Because we'll talk about that some more later, but people tell you and show you all sorts of things that they wouldn't normally show just anybody. Okay? These things do you swear, let each bow their head in sign of acquiescence, and now if you will be true to this, your oath, may prosperity and good repute be ever yours, if you're true to it. The opposite, if you shall prove yourself forsworn. So they're pretty much saying, if you don't abide by this, if you go to corruption, we hope you crash and burn. Okay? That's basically what it's saying in the end. But that's the Hippocratic Oath. And it was one of the early Greco-Roman scientists. They had open schools. They walked through the market. They walked through town. They had pavilions and amphitheaters where they met and did some general class work, but they also had stuff that was all around the community. It's pretty interesting, their educational model. Next is Galen. Now, Galen was thought to be kind of crazy by later people, and then he was thought to be kind of smart by others. And what I mean by that is he had something that he called humors. He said you had all these colored fluids inside your body. And when they got out of balance in one way, if the red fluid got out of balance high, you had this illness. If it was red fluid was low, you had this one. And he called them his humors. Okay? And he could analyze the humors inside your body and therefore determine what kind of illness you had. And later on, they thought, okay, he was kind of crazy, but then they sort of discovered what his humors were in later scientists. And what was that? What do you think his humors became known as? What are some things that make you cranky by being out of balance? Hormones! Hormones. Galen's humors later became known as hormones, which is our secondary communication system within our body. You have an electronic communication system, which is short term. Okay? That's your central nervous system. When you touch a hot plate, ow, you move your hand. Instantaneous. Okay? Well, almost instantaneous. It's instantaneous by ours, and it's electrical. But you also have a communication system that needs to be long term. So your hypothalamus or pituitary gland or something puts a hormone into your bloodstream. It takes a couple of days to get where it needs to go in full force, causes a reaction that will last for a long period of time. Like one example in females would be the sloughing of your uterine lining during menstruation. Okay, that's induced by a hormone and it lasts for several days. They want a long-term scenario with this. So it's a slow communication system with longer duration, okay? Where the nervous system is instantaneous, short duration, okay? But Galen's humors later became known as hormone. And we're going to get into the Dark Ages. In the Dark Ages, why do they call them the Dark Ages? Because they were dark. No light. No, I'm just kidding. It was called the Dark Ages because it was a dark mark on our history, especially when it comes to healthcare or anything. That's just a joke. You're talking about the monarchy type system. Oh gosh, I just had a senior moment. But the manners, not manners in having good manners, but the manor as in that's where everybody lived, underneath the barons and the dukes and duchesses and all that kind of stuff. The most common form of medicine was bleeding, where they bled you. Okay? They thought that if you were sick, you had bad stuff in your blood, so what they needed to do was bleed off some of that bad blood, and if they bled off enough of it, you would then get rid of whatever's causing you illness. Okay? So literally a doctor would come in with a whole bunch of different little blades, and he would learn the differing arteries of the body, and he'd come in and he would cut those arteries and allow you to bleed into a pan. Okay? And finally got a copy of a video of this from a movie with Kate Winslet in it. I think it's Pride and Prejudice.
Kate Winslet?
Yeah, Kate. Isn't that her name? From Titanic? Yeah. In this one, she actually gets better, but in most cases, when they did the bleeding, people didn't like to go see a doctor because they thought if you went to go see a doctor, you're probably going to die. Because they didn't know what they were doing, and the doctor was probably going to kill you. Oh, look, there she is. Hey, what happened? I don't want you to load the page. Get back to this. Where's all my volume? Oh, it's just got real low volume. Sorry. And this lasted for a long period. If you notice, this kind of goes well into the other periods that we're going to talk about that still had people that were practicing bleeding at that time. This looks pretty rough, doesn't you? All right, there you go. Make a small cut. And let her bleed into a pail. And he'd come by each day and just do a little bit of bleeding on her. Even had the pail kind of made to fit the arm. I've seen some of the devices they had for bleeding, and it was like a little wrench kit. You pull it out and had different sized blades on it, and that's what you use to perform medical practices. But it wasn't real successful. It wasn't real good. What was successful was this form. This form was probably the more successful of the types, and that was custodial care. You had a lot of monks and nuns that practiced healthcare. We still have that today. Healthcare is very big in the Catholic Church, and they have a very good program for it. Sing the praises of St. Vincent and St. Francis. I tried to say St. Vincent and Francis at the same time. It was kind of bad. Say Francis. But they had a program where if you were sick and you came to them, they would give you clean food, they'd give you clean lodging, clean bandages, and let your body heal itself. And it was actually the most effective way of healing back then. They thought, well, hey, if you feed the body good stuff and you take care of it, sort of like looking all the way back to the practices of Daniel, where if you ate the right food and you didn't eat bad foods, you would take care of yourself and you would heal yourself. And if they cleaned you on a regular basis and cleaned your linens and cleaned your dressing, you would heal. And it was the most popular and best form. Test. All right, so that was the Dark Ages. Notice again that I don't really care so much about AD 400 to 1400 with regard to the Middle Ages. I care more about what they did that was bad and what they did that was good, and who did it. The monks versus the physicians of that time. Okay. The other thing, though, that you got from your reading was there was a lot of plagues, the Black Death and all that. And what was really bad about all that is that they just didn't have any sense. We didn't bathe. I mean, they thought it was bad to bathe. If you bathe, you get sick, is what they thought. They thought, what were some of the other crazy things? Wounds and stuff should just be covered over for a long period of time. Don't change the dressing or anything like that. Just put something over it, you know. And we know now that in changing it and cleaning it, you know, you keep everything fresh. What was the other thing? They thought, when we look at Leeuwenhoek later, they thought that flies came from meat, you know. Oh, yeah. But then they had open markets with just food laying out. People urinated in the streets. You had a pee pot. And you used a bathroom in it and poured it out the window, and you hoped that you weren't the person that was walking under the window at that time, you know. They buried people in town. not far from the well, which was their water source. Most of the mass graves were underneath big cities, and all of that stuff was oozing into their water supply, and drawing in mice and rodents and stuff that were transmitting illness around. So it was pretty bad. We'll also talk about some of the things that were going on with the church that were corrupt, and that higher level church members were making the study of healthcare illegal in certain areas, and also making it so that you had to pay a lot of money into the church to get the higher level stuff that you wanted. So it was kind of corrupt at that time. That takes us into the Renaissance. Okay, in the Renaissance period. That up there on the left, that is Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. And what he noticed in studying human anatomy is that your body components should match up like that in a perfect circle. If they don't, if your arms extend or your legs extend outside of that circle, you've got a type of arthromegalia that is abnormal body proportioning. What do you have if your legs and arms are inside, too far inside that circle in body proportioning? Dwarfism. Okay? But the Vitruvian Man, it's used as a medical symbol in a lot of things, almost as much as the caduceus is used over there. Okay? Alright, so you got Leonardo da Vinci, y'all. Leonardo da Vinci was a man ahead of his time. I've seen just as many movies and writers say that he wasn't really from then either, that he was actually from the future and he got sent back, or that aliens brought him back, because his mind was so far ahead of everybody else's. He's designing helicopters. He's designing machine guns, elevators. He sees helicopters in his mind from dreams that he's having. I don't know if it's prophetic or what, like prophecy, but he is so far ahead of everybody. And on top of all that, he has got the amazing artistic ability to draw it and to paint it. Okay? So, he became known as the father of modern anatomy. A matter of fact, if you watch TV right now, there's a show called Grey's Anatomy. Do you ever wonder where the name Grey's Anatomy comes from?
Yeah.
Actually, the girl's name is Grey.
But didn't you tell us, like, last week about the Grey something? It was about
Grey's Anatomy textbook.
That.
The Grey's Anatomy textbook is the standard textbook for anatomy in medical school. It is one of the mainstays of anatomy. And who did all the drawings for that?
Him.
Leonardo. Majority of the drawings. I'm sure it's been updated some now with some digital type of thing, but he was the father of modern anatomy. Father of modern anatomy. That's good for the video. Okay. Now we talked about the corruption in the church, though, that just happened in the Middle Ages. It was illegal to do that type of dissection early on. They had these secret societies that would get together and pass notes around and say, hey, y'all, we've got a body. Meet us at this warehouse or this education facility with little platforms, and we're going to dissect this body and catalog everything. And if you discover it, you can slap your name on it, okay? But we're going to draw it and study it. But if they got caught, they could be killed by the church. They could definitely be arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of their lives or punished, unless somebody bought them out. You know, again, it was a lot of the holy dollar at that time, but it was considered illegal, and they had to do a lot of things to get around it.